going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show where we watch and play our way through horror to determine what's truly essential. I am your host, Corbin, and with me today is Alan.
Good evening.
Bobby.
Hi.
And we're bringing him back for some hella hot takes, Ben.
Really excited to talk about The Secret Life of Pets 2. You know what I mean? Here we go.
You know, Secret Life of Pets 1 was such a odd movie. You know, the trailers really had all the good parts in it. It's shocking to me that they made a second one.
They made another one. They made a second one.
They made a second one, and they couldn't have their main character because, you know, he deservedly got canceled.
Yep. Anyway, today we have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the fantastical slasher classic from horror legend Wes Craven. Before we get into it, though, Bobby has a spoiler warning.
I do. This will serve as your first, one, and only spoiler warning for the classic film, A Nightmare on Elm Street. If you do not want A Nightmare on Elm Street spoiled for you, how have you gotten this far into a horror movie podcast without it ever being spoiled for you? Great job. Go watch the movie or skip to the time code ahead for the essential spoiler-free discussion. So, this episode seems like it's just a prequel for the inevitable franchise dissection of A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's right, nerds! My spoiler warning is an ad for our other show, and there's literally nothing any of you can do about it. Alan?
So it's funny you say franchise dissection because we're, as you should know, we're going through Friday the 13th. And I don't want to make this about Freddy versus Jason, because that'll come later. But I feel like I'm going to have a lot of comparisons to make between those two because...
Why, because one's a good franchise and one's really bad?
Well, I think as it stands right now, I would compare them as Friday the 13th is a quantity approach in slasher-ness, and Nightmare seems to be try to go a quality approach.
I feel like you've made that comparison to every other slasher movie we've watched.
Really?
Yes.
Have I?
Yeah, you go, you know, it feels like this movie, I think you did it for like Halloween or some other shit that we did. And you're like, I don't even know if we did Halloween for this show yet. No, we didn't. Okay. It's another movie. I don't remember which one. But like, I feel like
Fear Street, maybe?
I feel like this is quantity versus quality. I've heard you say those words before in relation to Friday the 13th in another movie.
In fairness, Friday the 13th is the quantity over quality slasher. Like that's kind of like the whole point of it at a lot of the time.
To really jump into that, I was expecting more people to die in this movie. I just want to get that out from the beginning. I had in my head
3 people that die.
3 people die. Now, oh, true, 4.
Does the mom really die?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, absolutely she does.
We don't know.
She's pulled into hell.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Mom's dead.
This
is a spoiler discussion.
Unlike the mom in part 4.
No way to know.
Where'd the mom go?
What if I told you there's sequels and they definitely talk about it?
No way to know.
And
it's the only one. It was too bad of a movie for them to make any more.
Spoilers from the other 6 movies, but the mom doesn't come back.
Then you know what? Say it. Go ahead. Say your worst possible human take.
Generic Oreos are better than brand name ones.
Okay, well, this has been Essential Scares. We're going to go kill Ben now.
They are. I'm
going to drive however long it takes to get to your home and beat your ass.
Everybody knows Oreo Thins are the best Oreos anyway, so...
Everyone knows Oreo Classics are the best Oreos. People say they like double stuff because, you know, you thought you wanted it,
It's just
but
cool
you don't.
to say you wanted more stuffing. They're not better. The double, the extra, the thick stuff.
Yeah.
It's also not double. It's like 1 1/4 more or some
it's
shit.
Certainly not double. Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Saying that non-name brand Oreos is better.
Yeah.
Is like saying that A Nightmare on Elm Street is a bad movie. You don't know your history, and you don't know what's good.
Look, just because golden Oreos are bad does not mean that regular
Nightmare on Elm Street
Oreos.
is
Does
Hold
not
on, hold
mean
on.
we don't talk shit about golden Oreos because
We got there. We found the joke,
It
guys.
took me a second. But Ben, lay it on us. Tell us what you think.
I think that the idea and concept for this killer and this movie far outshine the actual implementation of those ideas in the film. Execution, the actual execution of those ideas in the film.
I don't know that I disagree. I don't think I agree with you as strongly as you're stating it, but I don't think you're like catastrophically wrong in that regard. I definitely, in my head, I think of Freddy as this like wisecracking jokester, always talking, always has a one-liner. That could just be preconceived notion on my part. That could be more something that develops in the later films. I don't know. I haven't seen them.
It's the second
but
one.
in this one, I just, every time now, I did like when Freddy had lines, because they were often just kind of gross, and sometimes he was a bit wisecracky, but I did want more of that, because that's just the character that's in my head. That's what I think of when I think of Freddy.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I hear that. But you still get some of the best lines, like, "This
I am God.
is
That's a
God."
very good one.
So good.
Mhm.
Robert Englund's so good. He's a great character actor.
No, he's great.
Or "This is God" is the line. Sorry.
Yeah, this is God.
From
Yeah.
my memory, which apparently has failed me in the past, I feel like the first entry into this franchise is not the best entry in this franchise, and I feel like they grow in quality. I mean, just as an overview, I think there's one creative kill in this. One. And I think that the story and the acting are weak, and I just
Okay, so let me
So
just-
let's start from the beginning. Let's hit those notes one at a time. So which is your one kill that you like? There's only 4 kills. What's the one?
the
that you
Johnny Depp kill.
like? The Johnny Depp kill.
That's the one that you find to be the most creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Johnny Depp kill. I mean, it's
I
iconic.
I
but
like all the for what it's worth, I like all the kills in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first
Because I'm
kill
a man
is
of culture.
probably is one of if not the best kills, because it is the most visceral feeling, and it's before it go like the Johnny Depp kill happens at the exact right time in the movie, because
Yeah.
the fantasy elements are like crossing the edge of craziness, and so his death is just wild. But the first kill, which was Tina,
Mhm.
I think her kill probably hits the hardest, because you're seeing
Yes.
everything. You're seeing like it solidifies very, very quickly that they're not dealing with a real person, and I think that really helps the movie along.
I have a
Can I
question.
also make a comment about that really quickly?
Mhm.
About
After
Tina
you.
specifically. I've noticed it. This is the first time I've noticed this, and maybe I'm stupid for not noticing it beforehand. This feels like a precursor to Scream.
For
Tina
sure.
specifically.
Yeah.
She, like the final girl fake out.
Mhm.
Like
I agree.
I was watching this movie, I'm like, holy shit. Like, cause like the first time I watched this movie, I knew Nancy was meant to be the main character. But like this time I was just trying to watch it, and I was like, holy shit, like you're meant to believe, like, and there's no reason why you wouldn't believe that Tina is the main here. And when Tina fucking goes, it's like, what the fuck do you mean Tina goes?
Oh, there are no rules. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anybody can die here. And like when we the ending even implies that maybe everybody did, right?
Yeah.
Like even though sequels kind of disprove that, but
Alan, what's your question?
So, in the Tina sequence,
Mhm.
is it supposed to be implied that Freddy is assaulting her, but not just assaulting her? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to dance around here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did not catch sexual assault as an implication in that.
everything about this is absolutely like okay.
There's
the reason why people don't like the
constant
remake.
sexual assault
It's
references.
it's a
in this movie. Yeah.
hypersexual movie in a general
Absolutely, yeah.
sense.
Especially every single one of his interactions with Nancy are sexually charged. Every single one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which That, I guess, was another thing. So I knew that Freddy was a child murderer. Do they expand in the later films?
In the original script for this movie, he
Future
actually
spoilers.
was a child molester, which is what you're
That's
assuming.
what I was. Yes.
And that was changed because at the time there was this like spree of like child molestation happening in California, and they thought that people would think that they were taking advantage of like current news. So they changed it. And they actually changed that back for the remake. But so
that's
far,
probably what I'm thinking of then.
So far as the original canon goes, no, they never go past child killer.
Okay. Gotcha.
But obviously,
the
the character is written as if it's a full on. You know, they just never say it.
Yeah, it's giving it's putting every hint out there without actually confirming it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. I mean, those parents went and killed him for a reason, right? I mean, even, say what you will about, a child serial killer, but I think that if you're going to cause whole ass vigilante justice, there's probably another layer there.
Yeah. And in the remake, they go whole hog for it, and in all honesty, they shouldn't have. The implication you get in this,
it's almost like too far in the remake. Yeah.
Well, even like, so I watched this 2 nights ago, last night. I don't remember. I watched it recently, and my understanding the whole time was that Freddy was a pedophile and a child murderer. Like, that was my understanding the whole time.
He is killing the kids.
The implication is he's John Wayne Gacy.
No, but like, I thought that they said it specifically in the movie too. Like, and so like, you guys telling me that is a little bit of news to me, because in my head, and I'm probably just making shit up at this point in time, but in my head they had in a future movie tried to be like, well, Freddy didn't actually do it.
That was the remake.
That was the remake, and then and then at the end they find pictures, and it's like
the remake is like they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they set him up to be worse, but then there is an angle of like, is Freddy a vengeful demon because he was framed, and that's like the story of the remake. Spoilers for the remake.
Because
I don't really care, but
is not good. So let's talk about a good movie.
That's right. Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, 1984. Alan, I'm sure you have. This was your first watch, so background for our listeners, our viewers. This was Alan's first watch. The rest of us have all seen it several times. I've seen it many, many times. So, Alan, what else did you think about this movie?
So I had seen bits and pieces of it. One of those scenes that I had previously seen, and it sticks in my head. If you weren't going to bring this up at some point, I was 100% going to bring it up. The Freddy arm extension scene. The reason that sticks out to me is I remember, I don't remember when this conversation would have happened, but you told me, Corbin, that was, I think, the first scene you found like scary in a slasher. Is my memory right in that regard?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you probably saw this movie when you were, I don't know.
I saw that scene before I saw the movie though, and I saw that scene on a DVD compilation of slasher killers. It was called like The Boogeymen or something, right? And it was just a bunch of all the slasher villains of the time with like stats and one scene from each one. And for Freddy, it was that scene, and I was probably 8 or 9, 10. And that scene really got me. I didn't actually watch Nightmare for a long time after that, because that was a scary scene for me, for sure.
I think it still works. It is a little corny today, but even watching that, just it's so eerie, because you're already kind of predisposed to understand that this is going to be a very surreal movie, because it's all in dreams. So naturally you can. That's I think the beauty of this. We've talked about like the idea of this movie is very interesting, because you open up so many different ways you can have fun with it. See Freddy versus Jason, just as an example. Bobby, what?
Wait, what the fuck?
Pinball scene. That's all I'm gonna say. Interesting.
Pinball scene.
Oh, you can do so many cool. You can do cool shit in dreams.
Sorry,
but I think this movie. I really thought there'd be more deaths. I really can't get over that, if I'm being honest, because I was definitely expecting more.
I don't think it's a
people to
bad
die.
thing.
I'm not saying
so
it's
either,
bad.
yeah.
It's just something that in my head, I'm thinking of slasher villains. I'm thinking we're gonna have bodies all over the streets.
I think you
And I
need
didn't
to.
have that.
I think you need to recalibrate a little bit because. So you've been watching a lot of Friday the 13th because of our sister show, and Jason Voorhees,
which you should watch, by the way. Advertisement.
Jason Voorhees has the highest kill count out of any slasher villain, right?
Yep.
Just raw numbers, he's number one. And he hasn't even had a movie in 12 years, and he's been number one always, right? And
They
it's
they just released a Friday the 13th movie like a month and a half ago.
they released a Friday the 13th fan film, which is very good, a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
No, it was
okay,
it was
no.
called
No. Anyway, most slasher movies have single-digit body counts, usually less than 6.
Really?
Yeah, so the amount of kills that are in this movie, it is not unusual, especially considering like the graphicness of each kill.
That's what I was about to say. I think specifically to me, Tina's kill, Johnny Depp's is amazing. Just because
those count for like 4
it's
each, right?
Beautiful. But to me, Tina's was so much more visceral because like you just watch this girl get thrown about, and then there's blood everywhere. Which obviously Johnny Depp's suck into just a fountain of blood is interesting.
The implication is like he's just getting ground into more blood, which is like honestly terrifying.
Seriously.
Oh yeah.
Because like they say like, well, there's nothing left of him. He's just a stain on the ceiling. Like
You're not gonna need a stretcher, probably more like a mop.
yeah.
Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it did execute on those 2 kills very well. I don't like Rod's death. To me, that's kind of... I just... In a world where you can do whatever you want, you choose to hang someone, it just doesn't click for me as well.
So here's
I'm not saying they necessarily had better options per se, but it's one of those things where I wish that kill could have been something more.
So I think you're thinking about some of the kills you've heard about in later Nightmare movies, and you're going, why couldn't they have been that? The reality is I think what Wes Craven did do in this one, that the ante had to be upped, was he made a movie that was somehow a dreamscape that was weirdly grounded in reality. The dreams seemed the most dreamlike, but also the most real, right? Like when Tina's running through her like yard, and then all of a sudden she's in the boiler room, then she's back in her bedroom. Like same thing. Like there when fucking Nancy falls asleep in the bathtub, she gets pulled down. She's like an ice cold water underneath the water, but like there is this weird, and like all of the characters, everybody in this movie is actually really fucking grounded.
Yeah.
And so like when Tina dies, like what I wrote was when like I knew Tina was going down, I'm like, fuck, it's actually really sad that Tina's going, because you can tell that like Tina was somebody who had hopes and dreams, and they all have like hopes and dreams, and they all have some ideas of like what they want in the world, and then Freddy just takes them from us. Like there is a certain like 3 dimensions to each character in this movie that you don't get in a lot of slashers, that I like. It's hard to get, right. That's one of the reasons I hate the Friday the 13th movies, because there's nobody, right, who has like 3 dimensions, and like it's so forced, right. There's no love in the caricatures in those movies, and like this movie does not have any caricatures, and they just go for it, right. Like, and so that's why I think like Ben, sadly, I think you missed the point, right? It's not supposed to be this, like, creative kill thing. It's supposed to be, like, this dude coming back from the grave trying to continue to get away with it. Like,
I mean, my only argument for that is that they change the theme then in the future. Like,
for sure they do.
Like
the second one is very close. It gets a little bit more... You know, it's more of a transitionary film. It's very good. It's wrongly maligned in my opinion.
I think the second one is getting its day now.
Yeah. Well,
I think part of it is that it's really overshadowed by Dream Warriors. It just is.
Oh yeah, because Dream Warriors is just fucking crazy over the top goodness. Like, you guys will really love Dream Warriors, like, because Dream Warriors is dope as hell.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I noticed the characters were a big thing for me this time too, and I don't know if it's because I have also been watching a lot of Friday the 13th, right, or if it's because it's been a while since I have watched these movies critically, right? The last time I think that I watched Nightmare on Elm Street was I went to the theater and saw it, and it was my first official date with my wife. So, at this point, it's like 9 years ago. And as you can imagine, I wasn't watching the movie with a critical eye at the time. And the characters, the thing I really liked about them is that everybody does feel real. And I think that a big part of it, actually, that Bobby didn't mention, why do these characters feel real, is that the adults are characters.
Yeah.
And you see this in other, like, slashers where there's, like, a set of teen characters that are really fully realized. A lot of times there's adults that are either our characters or that are very heavily implied to be around, right? Like, you see this a little bit with Halloween as well, and of course with Scream. But in this movie, right, you have this, like, dual angle of the adults, keeping the secret, of course, and then, the teenagers kind of trying to Scooby-Doo their way through the situation, and even reaching back to the prison kill. I think that kill works because the purpose of that kill, the reason why that kill is realistic, is because it's supposed to be something that could have really happened, so that it would put doubt on Nancy and the adults, would cause her to dream more. Like, I think it all has a purpose, and I think it works within the movie's framework, even though it's like a quote-unquote boring kill, sure, compared to the other three, right? I mean, when the mom is literally turned into a skeleton and dragged into hell, like, yeah, that's more exciting
Waves
than
goodbye to
that's more exciting than somebody, like, being hung in a jail cell, right?
Yeah.
But I think, like, the monotony of that scene is what makes it scary. It helps ground the movie, especially considering how heavily fantasy based the movie is overall.
This movie is really, I think one of the reasons why I think you and I are looking at it differently too is, like, we have since left the teenage years of our lives, and like, they play teenagers very well. I mean, they were all very young at that time. So they're all like, I don't know how old they were, but they were, like, close to being in that age group. They had to have been, right?
I know, like, like Heather Langenkamp was like 18 or 19 at the time or whatever. So, like,
so, like, they all
right
were
on the
in
cusp.
that age group. Yeah, and it was like, and they play teenagers, and they're like, these are just fucking kids, man, and like, he's just killing them, like, and it hits different.
That was something I noticed immediately. Is I think I didn't write a note on it, but I kept noticing that these were, I don't know that believable is the right word, but they were just the most genuine. They were actors that when I saw them, I actually went, okay, that's not a 25-year-old playing a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, look at Johnny Depp in his crop top. Like, if you told me he was 16, I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Exactly.
Johnny Depp looks like my teenage cousin in this movie, and it scared the shit out of me. Like, I was like, fuck, that could be Luke, that could be John. God damn. Like,
what about Matthew and Mark? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I had to do it.
It's pure coincidence.
Ben, you seem to have a dissenting face.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hit
Ben.
us up.
Say
Hit
your
us
dumb
up with
shit.
some hot takes. All right. For audio listeners, the glasses have come off. Ben is now rubbing his skull. He's covering up his eyes.
I get that I'm the not horror guy on the horror podcast. I cannot agree that these are genuine characters. I think that they are caricatures of what they are supposed to be. The dad is the character of I'm the gruff dad who's also a cop, and I gotta make no, you stay in the house. I'm gonna put bars on the window. And the mom's like, oh honey, you just need to get sleep, and oh take care of yourself. Oh, just like the, and then even the teenagers.
The mom knows what The mom knows what's going on. That's why she's like that.
And she's hella acting like she's acting
She's
like
acting
she doesn't
sus
the whole time.
No,
Yeah,
that's the whole
she-
point.
Literally, the day after Tina dies, she starts drinking all of the time.
She's drinking like a bottle a day. She's constantly drunk, this woman.
That's the other thing, is that even the teenage characters aren't acting like teenagers. Like
How?
they just had one of their best friends die, and they're just like, you know, I mean, Nancy is definitely the best one, because she's like, no, I gotta go to school, keep my mind off of it. Like, I can't just sit here. I gotta go to school.
So who isn't acting normal? Because Rod is running away from the police the entire time. Nancy refuses to go to sleep.
And Johnny Depp's character is like, he's such just a puppy dog boyfriend. Like, I feels very genuine the way that he acts with Nancy.
I don't think this is probably a product of me not being from the I mean, none of us are from the 80s, but like also
Spoilers.
like none of us were born in the 80s, guys. I'm the oldest person on the podcast.
Dude, spoilers.
But like Nancy is
Alan,
old.
you said the same joke.
Nancy only acts what I would call realistically for like the first half of the movie, and then after that, like especially like right after her mom gets turned into a skeleton and pulled to hell, she looks at her dad and she's like, "I'm okay."
Yeah,
It's
but like
no,
she,
the fuck you're not.
she's at
like-
that point she's transitioned fully into like final girl
Yeah,
heroine. So like her days of being the typical high school girl have passed. You know, I think that she doesn't spend the back half of the movie acting like your average high schooler, because at that point like she's on the offensive. I mean, I think that that's one of the things that makes her so great, is because you see her acting very normal and trying to get over things. But then you see her acting in a way that a lot of final girls don't, which is that she's not reactive. She's very, very offensive, and she's planning to fight Freddy, and like she is giving herself wholly to the realism of the nightmare. And I think that that is a scenario where, like, you know, obviously no 16-year-old is living that life. So then she turns into like a horror character. And I think it's a good transition. It feels good.
I think it feels natural. It feels like if you're like, again, like it's the same reason why like crazy people, they don't think they're crazy, right? And like this instance, she's actually right. There is a fucking like killer after, but like if you had a fucking mental breakdown, right? And you thought there's somebody, if I fall asleep, somebody's going to kill me in my sleep, and you're like but I know I can pull them out, right? You're gonna start planning for that, right? In the same way that like, if Civil War 2 came out tomorrow and all the fucking dumbass chuds were like, let's go kill everybody who was not a dumbass chud, like, you'd go like, okay, I'm gonna go board up my windows. I'm gonna go buy me some guns. Like,
I love how politically vague that statement was.
you like that?
I just love the way. Yeah. But like, I mean, I agree, right? I mean, she is just drinking coffee all day. She's trying to avoid like doing anything that would put her to sleep. I love that transition. I love the way that the mom acts, which is, yeah, the mom is drinking heavily because she knows what's really going on, but she's also pretty genuine towards her a lot of the time with the way that like Alan's got a big thought. Yeah.
The funniest scene in the entire
Where she pulls
movie.
the fully brewed pot of coffee out from under her fucking bed.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I
Loved
love
it.
that.
Genuine laughter. And it's so quick because like,
all right, good night, Mom.
You hear, and immediate. She's got it ready to go. Loved it. Loved every second of that.
And in case you might be thinking that's not realistic, most people who own a drip machine have more than one pot, so she could have easily just snagged one.
She had the burner too, Corbin. It wasn't just the pot. She had the whole thing.
That's the
Do you
old
know
one.
how cheap those are at secondhand stores, dude?
Come on. She could have thrifted
Even
that
in
for
the
like
80s.
$20. Yeah.
No. Yeah, even in the 80s.
Another thing I want to point out, we've kind of jumped around a bit. I think this is one of the most effective, actually scary slashers I think I've ever watched. Because the entirety of Nancy being haunted by Tina's body in a body bag is very good.
I love that.
Very, very
That's
good.
creepy.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it and you see her dead face, actually, and she just talking to, I wouldn't say it had a shiver up my spine, but it was like whatever the feeling right before that is, that's what I was experiencing.
Alan
And
was pre-shivering.
every time. Pre-shiver, you know?
Using a priver.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally
just-
agree. I mean,
it's-
I wrote that down too. Like when you see her down the hall and she's dragged and like her legs get lifted up invisibly, which the special effects in this movie are very, very good. I think they hold up
even
even
Tina's
today.
death.
Absolutely.
Like, her whole death sequence
some of it
is
does
camp.
not work.
Some
Some of
of-
it does not
some-
work.
Well,
The
yeah,
Tina
but a lot of it
nightmare
is
with
good.
the arms, it's dated now, right?
Yeah.
Even the face, right? I would
I still felt
argue
the face was creepy.
I liked
worked for
I
me.
liked the face. I liked when
So-
when he cuts off his fingers. I think that's a good gag.
I liked that. That was the one part I did like, and
Yeah.
those are the 3 bits that often get considered to be the most dated, right? But and
The
like,
fingers bit?
yeah,
It's because
Really?
you can
not
tell,
the mom
like,
getting,
looks
not,
super-
not
it
the
does look
blow
fake.
up sex doll being pulled through the door window. That's not the most dated one.
no, because
It's
that
just for
happens
like
so
half
quickly.
a second. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
whatever.
that happens so quickly that you don't even notice it.
Mhm.
Like,
Okay.
it really like again. If did you notice it, Alan?
I 100% noticed that was
Okay,
bad.
well,
I think
Okay.
I think the thing is that even if they did that scene now with CGI, it would just
Yeah.
cost 100 times more for barely any benefit. Like it's
yeah,
just
what
not,
what it'd do is they'd make cracking noises and like it would be gorier.
yeah.
Like,
Plus, like
it would.
it's a dream,
Yeah.
so what's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't.
I
matter.
love how you just waved your hand at that and made all the problems go away.
I mean,
like
it is
that?
a dream. Like, it's very clearly a dream.
Yeah.
Like,
What's up with this fog?
yeah.
What's up with this car that has the same sweater on that Freddy has?
See, you get it.
Dude.
Ben did understand the movie.
Okay, so let's talk about.
Oh,
John-
hold on. I'm sorry. While Corbin mentioned the sequence with Nancy and the leg draw, and we see the hall pass monitor. Best line in the entire movie is right after that, when Nancy freaks out, screams awake. She's gonna get out of there. She's like, "I'm just gonna go home," and the teacher says, "You're gonna need a hall pass."
Oh yeah.
That is a 10 out of 10
Yeah.
line.
Okay.
A genuinely funny. Like, Wes Craven had to write that. Hats off, buddy.
Okay, but
Great.
is
So
it
good.
is
Again-
it funnier than Nancy waking up from her dream in the hospital, looking in the mirror and saying, "Oh God, I look 20 years old."
That one was. I didn't like that one, to be honest. I was
Really?
like,
Why?
I
Is it
think-
because you just turned 29,
I think-
Alan?
it's like, man, I don't want
I
to talk
think
about
that line is one of the things that helps cement her as a realistic teenager, because 20 feels so
I-
old. Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
It's so good. Like, again, this movie like has, I think, the longest lasting believable humor in it, which allows the other movies to just go fucking ape
Yeah.
shit with like
For
with
sure.
it in a way that like makes it both scary and humorous in a way that other movies like cannot always straddle the gap.
Yeah, I agree. And I
'Cause,
think
like-
that, the future movies do a lot with horror imagery with almost like funny comments on top.
Yeah.
And I like that this one, a lot of the funny parts even are scary. Like there's a line that Freddy has that is comedic, but it's a scary line, which is right after Glenn gets killed, Johnny Depp's character. She gets a
boyfriend now.
yeah, Nancy
Yeah.
gets a call on
And
the
then
phone,
the
and then
tongue lick. Ugh.
like that's like okay, there's like sexual horror there's normal horror there, and then but also it's kind of funny because there's all these scenes of Freddy making jokes about being Nancy's new boyfriend, and then right after he kills Glenn, he says it. It is funny. I think it lands with a little bit of like black comedy that the
Well,
movie has a lot of.
And I think that line more than anything else is what cements the Freddy character, because like Freddy is not in this first movie. He's not funny.
No,
He is an incredibly intimidating presence, and I
Yep.
think a lot of the later movies borrow that same intimidating presence that he gets from here, but then Robert Englund can just be fucking Robert Englund can be Robert Englund and just fucking go nuts with the comedy bits, and like it works. It
Mhm.
works, and like I don't think other Nightmare movies could work if it wasn't for the establishment of this as being as grounded as it is, because it allows you to like suspend your disbelief even farther and farther and farther.
I
Not
agree.
to compare it to Friday the 13th again, but it's a failing that Friday the 13th has for me personally that I think is why I don't like that series as much as even the first or even the second movie, depending on which one you would say is the most important grounding film. Neither one of them grounded as much. There's always this sheen of fakeness that you don't necessarily get unless you're Ben and don't understand good movies.
Well,
That
and I
that
mean,
is not there.
I think the other thing
I'm
to
always
consider,
right all the time, Ben.
the other thing to consider there too is Freddy kind of has a bit of a pass in terms of reality bending at a base level.
That's
Whereas with Jason, I mean, we if you haven't seen Friday the 13th Part 2, here comes a quick spoiler. Jason survives an injury that just doesn't make sense. And then Friday the 13th Part 3 happens literally the moment the second movie ends. So it's hard. I get what you're saying with the grounding idea of it. I get your point there. And Freddy can kind of just naturally be ungrounded, and that feels grounded because of how fantastical the movie is
part
in
of
a
it,
basic sense.
Part of it is that the characters and the story around Freddy are so grounded that he can be so extreme that it doesn't feel too bad. Like,
and because it's all in a dream, it can be whatever it wants to be.
Part of it that makes it tough with Friday, and I like Friday the 13th, right? But like part of it that makes it harder is that the situation and the characters are so 1D basically that as soon as something like ridiculous happens, it's like, wow, okay, that was kind of like ridiculous that happened, you know?
I also would say that, like, I don't know if the caliber of acting in Friday movies are good, and there's partially intent to that.
I think it's part of the style. It's campy, right? Friday the 13th is campy on purpose, I think. And Nightmare is
meant to
not.
be good. It's trying to be good, right?
Right.
Like, it's trying to be one of the higher art horror films. Yeah. And I yelled at and made fun of long enough. Ben, please continue with your comment that we have to disprove.
I just like so here's the rub.
For sure.
I have been trying to consume a larger quantity of horror content than I had in recent years because of my
reawakening
exposure to the horror genre that I have gotten by joining you fine gentlemen on this podcast.
Ben.
And a film that I watched last week was a little 1996, I believe it was, film starring Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox called Scream. And like just thinking about watching the first entry in Scream. I have not watched the second one yet, though I plan to. Watching the first entry in Scream compared to the first entry in Nightmare, and I just think that Nightmare does not hold up. Like, because Nightmare was 84. So 84, which admittedly 12 years behind Scream. And Scream had a lot of other stuff that it could pull from to make it its own thing.
Yeah.
Scream had Nightmare to pull from.
Yeah.
Right, but like a lot of times you go back and you watch movies from the 80s or 90s or even really 2000s and you're like, that is not a good movie anymore. I remember loving that movie, and that is not a good movie anymore. And Scream, I believe, honestly, when I watched it last week, it was the first time I'd ever watched it. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And it's a 90s movie, right?
For sure.
And this is an 80s movie that I've seen before. And reading the headlines, BuzzFeed clickbait, my answer might surprise you, but like, I don't think this holds up that well. I think like, and maybe one of the differences is that Scream has absolutely no supernatural in it, whereas this is heavily supernatural, right? And supernatural was harder to pull off in the 80s than it was in the 90s, so maybe the age just maybe the age of what they were trying to do just didn't transfer well because it was the 80s and supernatural was hard to do in the 80s. But like I just like I said, I think the premise of Freddy Krueger as a killer is so stinking cool. And I think the idea behind this sort of slasher and franchise is really great. I just like, and you know what, Bobby, maybe I am missing the point, but like,
Sure.
The point to me of a killer who kills people in their dreams, I think it should be more creative. Like if we're going with someone whose whole thing is you're going to fall asleep and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do to you. I just feel like hanging somebody or dragging a girl up the wall just kind of falls a little short.
But that effect, okay, so that effect was done. I have a couple things I want to say to this, and I know Corbin probably does too, because we're the people who have the knowledge.
Actually,
yeah,
people.
But the Tina kill was done practically and like amazing. Like even like Rod in the corner there, he's there the entire time. Like I will
say I'm not complaining about that effect. I'm not complaining about that effect.
Like it like people steal that effect all the time to this day. That's how good it is. Like it's such a good practical effect.
And just to answer that, like I think they did that really well, and and maybe the problem that I had with that kill is that I've seen it 100 times at this point in time.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
but that was where it originated from. Really.
All right, they dragged the girl up the wall. Cool,
right,
whatever.
Yeah.
Like anyway, continue.
But no, so like that's that you actually hit what I think is the main issue that you're having with this movie is like a lot of what you've seen that maybe you like or you think is overdone are homages to this movie. Like Scream in the biggest way would in no way, shape, or form exist if Wes Craven didn't make Nightmare first. Like 110%.
Sure.
Like, I even mentioned it. Tina is what's her face? Drew Barrymore.
For sure.
Like, and so there is like, I guess I don't get how you could shame the father and love the son.
I wouldn't disagree. I would disagree with you there on that final point. But
I'm not so like I bring up Scream because it's simply the most recent horror film that I've watched. But like even if like I'm just gonna keep trucking. Even if Scream is full of homage.
That was a gag. That was a goof. I wasn't actually trying to like say that.
Which it clearly is. Like, if anyone tries to say that Scream isn't homage, they're stupid because they're like, "Hey, what's your favorite horror movie? Who's the killer in Friday the 13th? It's Jason." Wrong. You know, like it's clearly full of reference and homage. Like, I'm just talking about pure, like, is the movie still good? And I don't think Nightmare holds up. I'm sure, like, listen, I'm sure it's 1984. You and the girl that you're trying to get to go steady with you, she puts on your Letterman jacket, she throws on your class ring, right? You get in your...
You're worried about how your relationship is going to work once you both go to different colleges.
Go to college.
That are 50 miles apart.
You're on a football scholarship to the state school.
Only she's going to college.
Fair.
No, you're on a football scholarship going to the state school. She's going to go be a teacher somewhere. Like, you go into the theaters and you're like, "Hey babe, hey doll, let's go see a scary picture." And then you go
what decade is
to
this?
the theater and you sit down
2002.
And you have the popcorn and then Tina gets dragged up the wall. I'm sure scary as shit. Like, but like I wasn't there, right? I wasn't there in 1984 watching this movie in the theaters. Like, so
I don't know, man.
Alan,
go for it.
Yes.
I would like you to respond directly to Ben. This was your first time watching.
Oh, if it was effective for me?
Does this movie hold up?
Yes, I think it does hold up quite well, and I think it does that because effectively everything we see is a practical effect. and that does a lot of the legwork for me. So I am often known as the dude who goes, that doesn't make sense, and I get hung up on things.
It's true.
It's true. It's one of the two things we know you for on the show.
Had that happen during this watch.
I
Not
think some of the practical
one time.
I think some of the practical effects make it worse, honestly.
What do you mean?
Some of the practical effects are dated. We talked.
I think the practical. I think the practical arm extensions.
we
look
mentioned
bad.
That,
Yeah, or
Right.
like
Bad.
when Freddy cuts his chest open and there's like maggots inside. Like it's a cool visual.
Bad.
But it
Cuts
looks
it, when he cuts his fingers off and like it's
yeah.
clear that they didn't turn the tubes with the liquid on fast enough, so it like kind of fizzles out a little bit and then spurts like.
I think it looks better because of that, honestly.
So
though.
I was able to just go, it's a dream. Literally, I was able to go, well, it's a dream. Like pretty
My
much
immersion
everything
was ruined.
I saw, I was like, well, it was a dream. I cannot go dissonance in a dream. Like you.
Am
me,
I
that's
the
just- you
Alan of
can't.
this episode of the
Yes.
podcast?
Yes,
I'm
you
the
are.
Alan of this episode of the podcast.
That is correct.
yeah. Hey.
All right. See you
what
guys
if
later.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But I mean, I guess to go on a little bit more, like I had a lot of fun watching this movie. That's the other thing is like it's almost murder mystery is not a very good way to describe this, but it kind of has like elements of that in a way. I mean, the adults know it's. I guess the only thing that kind of goes against that is really the adults probably should have had an idea of what's happening pretty quickly. I would say to some degree.
Here's
or
what I would say
suspicions.
is, let's say, right, the first person dies, Tina, right, in her dream. She's the first one that's had the dream. She's dead now. You, 20 years ago, hunted down and killed a pedophilic serial killer, right?
Got it. Yep.
Your firstborns
I
are all, your
threw the match.
firstborns, they're all dead, right? Which, by the
are
way,
we supposed to assume that their first child is dead?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Nancy's mom says us and the other parents. Nancy clearly wasn't around because it's not like she remembers all her friends dying when she was in first grade. Like, there is an older generation of children that have died off, right? Anyway.
Over 20 kids, apparently.
Right. You kill this guy, he's dead, right? He's dead. 20 years later, if somebody has a bad dream and then dies, like, you're not going to go, oh, it must be that guy we killed. Like, in what real world scenario would you think, oh, that person we killed is back from the dead and killing people in their sleep? Like, there is an element of believability there that, like, the adults would not at first think that it could actually be happening.
Well, even so, right? Even with that, right? Even when Nancy shows her mom Freddy Krueger's hat, she goes, no, we got rid of him. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I have to show you this because you're asking questions, and like I'm not gonna hide it from you because you're my daughter. At this point, he's gone. He's dead.
I can't write that off because it's not like Nancy just walked in with a hat and was like, "Mom, look at this." Nancy was at the sleep study and pulled the hat out of thin air. Like at that point, parents got to start asking questions.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where like you can. If you are so confirmed, if you are so, again, I think one of the things that you have to look at, and I'm going to defend this movie because I think it's a rational response, is I fucking lynch mobbed a dude, right? He has to be dead. So much of everything that I have established, my husband is the chief of fucking police. I cannot be the guy. I cannot be somebody who killed somebody. So
there's also
he's gotta
even
be gone.
So far. It's not in the movie, but it's a deleted scene where Nancy's mom talks more about what happened, and she mentions that she burned them, right? They burned Freddy to death, right? But in the longer version of that scene, like, she talks about how Freddy didn't die from the fire, and he comes up the stairs, and then she shoots him dead. So she has an extended, like, personal vendetta to absolutely, she has to believe that he's gone because she killed him. Right? She was the one that pulled the trigger, and like,
she saw
it's
him
not in
die.
the movie, so okay, but like, even keeping the stuff that is in the movie, if you're that person, like, you can't allow yourself to think that he could be back.
It's just straight denial.
Yeah.
I think denying it after Tina's death, fine.
Yeah, because
some girl died. Her boyfriend was in the room. They just got in a fight. He has a switchblade in his pocket. He did it. Like, easy. Like, cut. Dude's in jail, right? Rod's in jail. Rod dies because he hung. He hung himself. Okay, that's
overcome
an
with
easy
guilt for killing his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, like,
easy.
You know what? He couldn't live with himself. Easy. My daughter is not
having
sleeping because she's having bad dreams. I'm going to take her to a sleep study. But before I take her to the sleep study, she's going to mention the name Freddy to me.
We've not talked. She doesn't before then. She does not. She never mentions Freddy Krueger before then.
Not before the sleep study?
No, because that's when she gets the hat.
Oh, she gets the hat, and the hat says Fred Krueger.
Nope.
Okay. So anyway,
the talking about Freddy, it's indirectly, and it's all between the friends. Like, did you have that nightmare? I saw that guy with the knife.
I swear.
They do say his name, but she doesn't say the name to her mom, I believe.
Okay, I swear I thought she said the name to the mom at one point, and the mom and the dad look at each other and are like, and then they move on.
She mentions the finger knives.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then that might be.
They know about the glove. The glove was the murder weapon. Yeah.
Take the name out, finger knives, right? Like they gotta be specific. Like We've not, like, this guy off the face of the planet. We've not talked about him. There's no news about him. These kids don't know about him. How does she all of a sudden know about the finger knives? Still not enough to think that there's a dream killer running around, but enough to, like, make the parents go, like, oh, this is, like, where is this coming from? Right? She goes to get the sleep study, the EKG, whatever they're doing. She's wearing a dressing gown. It's not like she's got pockets. She ain't got no pockets. She starts having a bad dream. She wakes up from that bad dream where previously she had no hat in her hand or on her person, and now she has a hat that says Fred Krueger in it. Like, that is the point in the movie where the parents should have been like, something is happening here. Like maybe we should believe her a little bit.
Hey, Ben.
I know I'm the Alan in this episode. No, it's fine.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna fight it because I think that let's play a different story, right? Let's ignore Friday. Let's ignore Nightmare on Elm Street completely for a second, right? Okay, you have a child. Your child's a teenager, and they're having trouble sleeping. They recently spent the night.
My child's name is Bruce,
Nancy. Nancy. Let's just go with Nancy for some reason. Don't even worry about it. So Nancy is having trouble sleeping. You think the most likely explanation is because she recently had her best friend murdered by her best friend was murdered by her boyfriend in the same house that she was sleeping over at. She's been having a really hard time, and she keeps talking about how she thinks that the boyfriend is innocent, right? And she keeps trying to defend the boyfriend, right? And so because she's not sleeping, and because you're really worried about her, you take her to and because she keeps mentioning this guy, this really deep, dark secret that you can't really talk about because it's a crime that you committed, right? That she probably is having nightmares about because of some of the other kids who remembered this crime, right? Just some of the older kids, right? So you go and you take her to an EKG. She freaks out during the EKG and she's having some really bad REM sleep nightmares. Really, really bad. That's what you figure out from that thing, right? And she comes back, and you're just worried about her, so you just take her home really quick. And later on that day, she comes back with a hat that she says she picked up in the sleep study that, you know, you just didn't notice because you're just worried about your child.
Nope. They full on had the hat. Where'd she get that hat right when she wakes up? They mentioned the hat right when she wakes up.
You're just too worried about your kid, you know?
First of all, there are no kids. All the other kids are dead. They're all dead, Bobby.
No. I'm sorry. Springwood has more than 20 children.
None of them are talking about Freddy Krueger. Not a single goddamn one of them. There's not a single person that mentions Freddy Krueger. She pulls this hat out of her fucking nose, I guess. Like,
you just didn't notice it. You were just worried about your kid and her awful nightmares.
I think if there's any
dad, Ben, you're a bad dad.
I think if there's any in-universe logical failing that this movie makes that future movies fix, that they avoid this, is that Freddy there's no reason for this group of kids to start having the nightmares about Freddy. In future movies, like there's always something that like triggers it, like oh they find out about Freddy and then they start dreaming about him, or oh like
they give him power.
Yeah, the power comes from dreams, but they have to know about him, right? So like the subplot of this, of course, god? He's a demon, but maybe is that the parents are trying to keep it hush hush, right? And that's what stops him from coming back. Is because nobody even knows about him, and so I think in my mind, the only in-universe issue is why did these kids ever start dreaming about Freddy, right? And you could, if you want to just like back up a few days and say like, oh, maybe they were looking through old newspapers and they saw it. Okay, well now that explains that, and also explains a lot of other things. It doesn't actually bother me, but if I were to nitpick, that's what I would say.
I just like the parents just acting like, nope, you're fine, it's okay. Like even after that, it's like, nah, there's something going on here.
But even in that, there's motivation that you can clearly see that like I have to believe that I finished the job, because I've spent the last 16 years thinking that I did something to protect my family and the families of this town. And like if I didn't, then these kids' blood are on my hands, and I can't. Right. I refuse to accept that responsibility.
I think the level of denial there from a parent is well beyond the ability to deny the situation. Honestly,
I absolutely think it is. It's like the same thing with the
Alan is laughing. Alan, what's so funny?
In before we did Essential Scares, we watched a movie where I had a contention, and I now know what Ben is going through, what I went through for that contention. I don't want to go into it because we will cover that movie at a later date, because it's a
incredible
movie. It's a movie. And I just flashed back to that experience.
I forgot that you were dumb about that. Okay.
So this is totally nonsensical.
I'm the Alan of this episode. Sorry. I get it. I'm here. So I'm fine. I'm here for it.
Let's move on.
It's a bad movie. It's fine.
Before we get to the score, I think that there's one thing we can talk about that Ben would surely agree with me on, and if he doesn't, then I guess this whole episode was for nothing.
Never on the podcast again. Hey,
Ben, what did you think of the score?
The music?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! They killed it. Like
it's so good.
Like I will 100% give them that one for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, Alan doesn't like the music.
Alan doesn't like 80s synth soundtracks confirmed. Dude, come on. It leans so hard into the dream scenarios.
I'm sorry to disappoint. I hated it.
Jesus. Okay. Ben, feel free to gush a little bit. While
I'm not the Alan of the episode anymore. Alan's the Alan of the episode now. Yeah. No, I think they did a really good job, like I think that's one of the things that at least the movies that I've been on and that I've watched, I think that's one thing that they've kind of gotten pretty right. Like the soundtrack fits, in my opinion, very well with what they're trying to get across. So I did enjoy the soundtrack quite a bit. Essential Scores coming in 2027.
That's right. I totally agree. I loved the soundtrack. I think that it absolutely manages to kind of flip back and forth between a grounded feel and a very synth heavy feel for the dream sequences. I think that it has like scary elements. I don't know what it is, but like for me, synth is just scarier than like normal like composed music. I think it just is part of why that is? The genre. Yeah, what's that?
John Carpenter, and dare I say, the soundtrack is Carpenter-esque.
Oh, it very much is. It very much is.
So good. I love it.
In the best way. In the best ways.
To defend Alan a little bit on what Alan's about to say, I don't think this is like a far out Like, I don't think this is a god tier or an S tier soundtrack. I think it did really well for what it was trying to do, but I definitely
A
think
tier
there
for
are...
sure. It's at least as good as Malignant.
It's no
I don't
Dream
know what that is.
Warriors theme.
We don't
Okay,
talk shit about the
okay.
score for Friday the Nightmare on Halloween.
Just because the Scream Chainsaw Psycho.
Scream Chainsaw Psycho Dream Warriors X, like
Bobby's absolutely right. The Dream Warriors theme is SSS tier. It's the Dream Warriors. It's beyond 80s. It's so 80s. It is eternal. Alan seems to be the only one that doesn't like the soundtrack. Alan, here's what I'd like. I would like you to make some comments about the soundtrack, and then give us your score, 0 to 5.
Oh, roll right into it. I like that. So, to talk about the music, I do not like this styling. However, just because I don't like it does not mean that I can't take a step back and go, I see why this fits the ambiance. It doesn't work for me on any level, and I found it fairly distracting. However, I'm able to kind of go, I see why people would enjoy this music for what it is, but it doesn't work for me personally in any capacity.
Wow.
I think that's the most objective take I've had on this show ever.
I guess I'm still the Alan of the episode.
Sorry, Ben. But I did hate the music personally. However,
Yikes.
I get it.
Did that impact your score? If you were to rate
A little,
this movie,
not as much.
from 0 to 5, half points allowed, would that impact your score? What would you say?
I think this is a solid. And I usually write down a score. I didn't after finishing this one because I wasn't sure where I was going to land.
Ooh.
I wanted to kind of to sit on it a little bit. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Oh.
I think it misses for me because, as I expressed, I think that the whimsical bits that were there, I did enjoy. I wanted more. I truly did want more whimsicality, if that's even a word.
You're going to love the next 5.
Whimsicaliciousness.
That's whimsicaliciousness. That's exactly what I was missing out of this movie.
You should like a couple of the next 5.
But the other thing too is I didn't particularly like the. We didn't get to talk. I didn't get a chance to say. I did not really like the mom acting very much personally. Like she felt pretty not distracting.
Isn't she like
far.
shockingly sexual?
Yeah.
Did you not notice that? Like
her acting was so bad.
Very
I couldn't
interesting.
not think like, why is this such a bad
This is something
actress?
we didn't get a chance to talk about. The sexual undertones of this movie are very, very. There.
So
it's very strong.
Where Friday the 13th is sexy from like 2 onward, this movie is sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 2 very different things.
Yeah, it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be hot.
No,
it's not meant to be like a softcore porn. It's meant to be
This
like
uncomfortable sexuality.
Well,
yeah,
it's talking. Yeah, like any when you're a teenager and sexual things happen. Like there's almost like we were teens at one point. You kind of want it, but you're also very uncomfortable and very afraid.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not supposed to do this.
That's the bathtub scene incarnate, right? I mean, that's like the whole point of it.
The bars on the window. There's so much about that. This movie is like
Absolutely.
incredibly sexual.
Well, and like in a typical 80s slasher movie, it's like, okay, I can expect that there will be at least X amount of scenes with women without tops. Period. Like it's going to happen, and that's just not a thing here. Which was refreshing, honestly. Compared to the amount of Friday the 13th I've been watching, it was refreshing for like there not to be the just like nudity. There was not nudity for nudity's sake. The nudity that was in this movie was tasteful, if that is a way to describe it. Maybe not.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even notice the nudity.
I mean, the only
Nancy
nudity
goes
is like
into the deep tub.
Yeah. And there's nothing that you can see. It's not
exactly.
Like they don't do like a close up shot of like boobs with nips.
Yeah, which is just like Friday the 13th's like bread and butter.
I mean, this movie could have been PG-13 if it was released now. Honestly, with the exception of like the blood fountain,
the blood and gore. Yeah,
there's no nudity. There's no hard language. Like, there's no
Is there one
people
F-bomb?
maybe
Well,
one.
even if it
Definitely
even still
not more than a
PG-13 gives you one
PG-13.
F-bomb.
Yeah.
You get one F-bomb in PG-13. That's why in X-Men Days of Future or X-Men First Class, Wolverine says "fuck off." That was their one F-bomb.
And
Oh,
that
this
was
is good
our
knowledge.
one F-bomb.
And guess what? And guess what? That's the greatest piece of things that Ben has said the entire episode.
Wow. How about
Yeah, I said it.
let's-
we're enemies now, Ben.
Let's save Ben for last.
Oh,
That's
that's,
actually-
exciting.
He's-
Bobby?
Me?
Bobby.
So I, unlike Alan, came into this fully expecting to give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I was like, yeah, it's good, but like there's some bits that are like dated and don't work. This movie struck me emotionally in a way I wasn't expecting this time around. After seeing this movie this many times, like I don't know, there was like all of the teenagers just felt so grounded, and I just felt for them and such like I was legitimately sad going into this knowing Tina was going to die just within like the first couple minutes. Like, god damn, like. And like everybody else, like it was like fuck. Even Rod, you're like, man, he's just a fucking kid, man. Like he, like nope. And so it's a 5. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. It's an all time classic. It has every right to live in the pantheon, and it deserves a 5 out of 5. Like it hit me in an emotional way that I was not expecting this time around. So yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
So I've been diligently recording movies on my Letterboxd for the last like 4 or 5 years, right? And every time you record a movie, it asks you to put a score. And before we started doing this show, I was very willy-nilly with my score. I was like the person that would give, just a 5 to like basically anything. You know what I mean? You just like go for it,
You were normie me.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, this score is just for me. What's the difference? I just want to know if I really liked it or not. And since we've been doing this, whenever I rate something, I try to rate it more objectively to keep in mind with the show and, whatever. And when I logged this movie into my Letterboxd diary, it has the score in there that you gave it most recently, right? And the score that was in there was 5. And I went, I don't need to change this. And I just pressed save.
hell yeah.
5 out of 5. Incredible
Hell yeah,
movie.
I was so nervous, baby. Let's go.
I wouldn't change anything about this movie. I absolutely loved it. I think I loved it more this time than any other time. I think part of that actually was the soundtrack, which really hit me this time. I've really gotten into that sort of score in my later years, and this one really got me there. The realism of the characters is something that I honestly never noticed, and this time I did, and I really appreciated that. I think that Freddy hits the perfect balance between scary and like comedic at the same time. I really, really enjoyed this movie. 5 out of 5.
All right, Ben.
Ben.
Choose your words carefully, pal.
Oh my god.
I think that most of the effects were not good. I think that there was only one creative kill in this film. I think that the acting was not good. I think that the character portrayals were caricatures of what they were supposed to be. And for that, I give this film a 2 out of 5.
Wow.
Ben?
I'll be honest. I was expecting a full-blown half out of 5. That's what I was expecting from you.
I thought he was going to say
conversation,
1.
Ben.
I thought he was going to say 1.
I cannot, in good conscience, rate this lower than Resident Evil 7.
So let me be very clear. Ben,
That is such a fascinating barometer with
Yeah.
which to use.
I love that. Sometimes
Oh
that's just
my
how
God, that's amazing.
sometimes that's just how it be. Like,
I get it.
yeah.
I mean, how many times, as an example, how many times have we used a Resident Evil Infinite Darkness as like a sticking point of like, did I hate it more than this?
Yeah.
No, it has to
Sure.
be higher.
every bad movie.
Oh.
But Ben, let me just say, okay, first and foremost, I admire your ability to have your own opinions and to like, just go with what you're feeling is correct. That being said, how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you?
I was waiting for the Bobby turn and Bobby turnaround. Like a Blues turnaround, there's the Bobby turnaround.
How goddamn dare you?
Ben,
Listen, Bobby,
Here.
when you're as old as I am, you'll just understand the world a little differently. And
Ben, I
Ben,
feel like
I'm
I might
gonna-
be
I'm-
older than you.
I'm gonna give you Ben. I'm gonna
Oh,
give you a
no.
chance. I'm gonna give you a chance here, and I have a
I
feeling.
don't want a chance.
I'm
Okay.
gonna give it to you anyway because I am. I'm nice, and you can ask around, and people
I'm
will
a
agree.
compassionate God.
That's right.
I'm a nice guy, okay? I
I'm
don't
a nice
know.
guy, Ben.
I'm not.
You might have given it a 2, but would you say this movie is essential?
Oh, I'm first on this?
You're first.
Mm.
Oh boy.
Absolutely, this movie is essential.
What are you doing?
I love that you turned the lights off again.
Theatricality and deception are powerful agents against the uninitiated.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so like this is one of those special cases where and I definitely had to be the heel on this episode because of how you guys were acting about this movie. I still had fun watching it. Like I didn't hate this. I just don't think it's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always a difference there between saying something is bad and saying I didn't enjoy my time with this. Like,
Yeah, me being the heroic face. In all honesty, right? Like, it's all good, man. Like,
wrestling.
I'm dead serious. Like, you have every your opinion is valid, even though it's wrong.
Ben, I'm gonna let you continue, but just so everybody knows, because I didn't say it, spoiler free, guys.
Freddy's actually Jason's dad. Oh no!
That would be a turn. You know what I mean?
Can
That
you
would be
imagine?
That's
wild.
an M. Night Shyamalan little twist.
Could not be me.
The one kid he didn't kill.
No. I did love how that got Alan. There we go. I did love how Henry Winkler walks out of his office and Scream and looks at the janitor wearing the Freddy Krueger sweater and is like, "No, not you, Fred." And it's like, "Oh, that's funny." Yeah, this is essential. I think that this is, I mean, it's 84. This is one of the early and probably most influential slasher films. Like, I mean, there are obviously stuff before this, right? There are films that exist before this. Not in this franchise, but I also think the creativity of the concept, even if I don't think it was expertly, what's the word I want? I used it earlier. Implemented. I said implemented, then I changed it to the word that I actually wanted.
Executed?
Executed, thank you. Even if I don't think it was expertly executed, I think the concept is amazing, and I think the future films greatly benefit from the existence, and not just future films of this franchise, but future horror films in general. So I do believe that this film is essential.
Nice. Alan?
I'll take it away.
Yeah.
It is so absolutely essential. It's farcical to believe it isn't. Much like how
Farcical.
yes,
Alan said farcical.
Much like how Jason, for example, is identified, and if you see that hockey mask, you think Jason. If you see a sweater that is remotely similar to Freddy Krueger's sweater, you're going to think of Freddy Krueger. It has invaded the normal consciousness to know what Freddy is. It invaded the consciousness so much that we have a fucking movie called Freddy versus Jason. Like, it's... I think that this, and even just on his own merits, Freddy Krueger as standing by itself, this launched an entire franchise worth of movies after this one. Now, it was the 80s. was it just the right kind of time and place for slasher movies to kind of franchise out? Yeah, maybe there's some of that going on here. But I don't think you don't think of the bad B-movie slasher movies in terms of iconic franchises, but you do think what I'm saying is they're not nearly to the same level of Freddy Krueger, for example. Like, it's iconic who he is. You know, if you say Freddy Krueger, everyone knows exactly who you're talking about. If you say Freddy in most contexts, there's two that are going to come to mind. Mercury or Krueger. One of the two is coming to your mind. Probably both. It absolutely is essential. 100%. He's a mainstay in horror as it stands currently. 100%.
Bobby?
Holy shit, they made these movies fast.
Sure. I'm going to say what Alan said in one sentence. Freddy Krueger is quite possibly the first head on the horror movie Mount Rushmore. It's absolutely essential.
I'll buy that.
For sure. Freddy Krueger is one of the first horror characters that is basically a rock star. You know, I mean, he transcended just being a horror villain. Of course, he's essential. Of course, it's essential. And, you know, Wes Craven did a lot before this. And he did a lot to help the genre. And I think that he's one of the founding fathers of slashers, and not because of Nightmare. But I think that Nightmare was a turning point for the genre and is the reason why slashers were able to, in the mainstream, get as ridiculous as they ended up getting before the 90s came. Alan is making a face. So
I was
Bobby.
just going to ask, what else was he? I genuinely don't know. Wes Craven, I know. Nightmare, Scream.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call this a slasher, but I think that Last House on the Left inspired what became slashers in a big way.
Okay.
The way that they... Bobby's making a face again.
You wouldn't call Last House on the Left a slasher?
I think that there's some contention of whether it's a slasher or like if you would put revenge as the main genre, yeah. But it feels like a slasher.
They're cousins. They're kissing cousins.
I have a question.
I agree. Alan.
Is Halloween supposed to be inspired from that movie, if I'm not mistaken, or am I totally off there?
Halloween has a lot of inspirations, and it kind of coalesced them all together and became like the Halloween. Prototypical slasher in that way. Yeah, Psycho, Last House on the Left, Texas Chainsaw even, and kind of slammed them all together.
If you say anything bad about Daddy John Carpenter, I'll kill you.
I would never say anything bad about Daddy John Carpenter, especially not on Twitter at Corbangarang, where you can find me talking all the time. I am always tweeting.
You dare snub my Star Trek?
You've been snubbed. J.J. Abrams, go away. You can find me at Corbangarang. What have I been up to? Not too much, but Diablo 2 Resurrected came out today, and I played for just a tiny little bit, and it's super dope, and that's probably the main thing I'm going to be playing for the future. So there you go.
I feel better about the concept of buying Diablo 2 Resurrected, knowing that Activision and Blizzard didn't really have a hand in making it.
Well, Activision did, but Vicarious Visions or whoever was the developer.
It was Vicarious Visions, I think.
I mean, Activision's a publisher. They don't develop anything. Anyway, Ben.
Hi, my name is Ben Hutchison.
Docs himself again. Every episode. If you listen to every episode that Ben is on, you could probably send him a present by now. Right to his doorstep.
Warhammer specifically. You could send him some minifigures.
No, I do not want to get into Warhammer. I've got enough nonsense in my house as it is.
Yeah, he's a lying sack of shit. Don't listen to him.
Do you see those pops behind him? Those are Warhammer shelves. Each one has their hands out ready to hold a pot of paint and a minifig.
Oh, you want me to put a pot of paint and a minifigure in each pop figure's hand?
I like that we're calling them minifigs, even though that's purely a Lego thing.
Like this Lego Ollivander.
Oh my god.
Okay. Anyway.
Where can we find you, Ben?
Oh,
Ben,
no.
Ben,
No.
Ben, stop. No.
You can find you. Stop him! You can find me at the Batman. I dropped McGonagall. You can find me at Just the Batman on Twitter. where I share deeply intimate goings on of my life. So
If he lets you. The only guy with a
fun.
private Twitter.
It's not private anymore.
Really?
I unprivated it when my friend died because I was trying to get Bungie to send his wife something. So then I just haven't privated it again.
That's a very sad situation, but at
Yeah,
least now everybody can
that's
follow
real dark.
you.
I'm really sorry, man.
Anyway, just the Batman on Twitter.
Love that. Alan?
You can find me at a seal punter just about anywhere. Haven't been up to too terribly much, frankly. I know I need to start reading the Halo. What's that trilogy?
The Cryptid?
Forerunner trilogy. I need to actually read them because they're highly important to Infinite, and I have been a lazy
Are they?
idiot.
Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
very
I didn't know
much
that.
so.
Didn't know that. I
They're
have them
basically required reading.
I have them on Audible. I'll have to do that.
That's
should.
a good call. That's
Let's
probably
just
how I'm
say
actually
the second
going
book
to
takes
do
place
them.
in the same location.
Ooh,
Delta Halo?
Nope.
But that's really it. I know I need to read that. I'm still trucking my way through The Stand. That book is big. And yeah, I haven't been doing much. Deathloop. That's, I guess, the only thing I have been playing is Deathloop.
Deathloop's dope.
And
Deathloop's
it's
dope.
pretty amazing. I'm
Kena
a
vs.
sucker.
Spirit's dope also.
Haven't played that one. Big fan of Arcane. I love the Dishonored games. So I had to get Deathloop the moment it came out. I'm going to play Diablo when I get a chance. But I just don't know when that's going to be at this point.
That's not the only
Corbin,
thing
you
you're
look
going
like
to
you're
do when you have a chance.
Oh, tomorrow? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh. You trying to talk about Warhammer?
Oh, always.
Oh my god. So Corbin, my birthday just passed. Happy birthday to me.
Happy
Cool.
birthday to Alan, guys.
Happy birthday to
Happy
Alan.
birthday to Alan.
Alan sucks.
But Corbin, in his infinite generosity, bought me a Warhammer set. It's Chaos Marines, right? Am I
Yep.
correct there?
Yep.
I have not looked into them one bit. I need to buy glue and paint, and they're going to be purple of some kind, because purple is my favorite color.
He's gonna be a Slanesh army.
Sure. I don't know what any of those words mean.
You're gonna.
Minus army.
I can't
Yeah,
wait to play
so-
Warhammer with Alan over Discord. I'm so excited.
It's going to be an experience, I guess.
I absolutely will be.
Bobby.
That's right.
Oh yeah, hey, the best place you can find me is at my Linktree, twitch.tv/theredweenie. Unfortunately, I have just not been in the mood to stream for the last, month. Even on our weekly Destiny raids. Just haven't felt like being bothered with it. Hopefully that streak will end this weekend of recording, and so by next weekend you'll be able to watch me again. But you can find all my relevant socials there, my Instagram, my Twitter. I am not super active on Twitter. I post a story a couple times a week on Instagram, plus I make some big posts when I think my dogs are cute, or I think I'm looking like a himbo. Or thirdly and finally, when me and producer Mallory go on our very rare dates that we go on because we're homebodies more than anything else. So, those are the three things you'll see on my Instagram, which is probably my most active social. Either way, twitch.tv/theredweenie.
Nice. And you can find the podcast anywhere at Essential Scares. I mentioned it earlier. I said that I tweet a lot at Corbangrang. That's partially a lie. I don't tweet that often there. I tweet a lot at Essential Scares.
It's true.
Our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook are all pretty active. We have a Facebook group and a Discord that we're all active on. Join one.
It, by the way.
Pick one, pick both, join, talk to us. If you have questions for us, feel free to toss them in there. We will record a special little video for you and toss it out there for you to hear. There's one out now from one of Alan's buddies that you may or may not have seen in the past week on Facebook, so check that out. But with that, that's it for the week. Thank you to everybody for watching or for listening. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up, give us a rate, subscribe, share us with your friends. You know what to do by now, I'm sure, if you've gotten this far. Thank you to Alan, Bobby, and Ben. Next week, we're going to watch Troll Hunter. I have been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
Play that breakout, bitch.